Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to the War Report. This is the real voice of Military City, USA. I'm your host, Warren Smith. I have a lot of good information for you today. This show is brought to you by Casa de Smitty's at 1850 East Houston Street, San Antonio, Texas. A great place to meet. And you get some good chicken wings, too. With that, I'm going to move right into the information. I mean, you've been watching the news and you see what kind of stuff is going on across the country today. But before I go national, I want to go local. I want to talk to you about some things going on in our community that we need to know about. These are the things that are hidden, things that you don't normally get told about. I mean, we own some things, but we really don't own anything. I mean, all this property does not belong to us. It belongs to God, our founding Savior. I want to talk about property deeds. Property deeds and the Lady Bird Johnson deed. I don't know if you heard about that, but there's something in these warranty deeds that give you the authority to become the proprietor of a property if someone happens to pass, the owner happens to pass. But if you don't go and get that warranty deed, that original warranty deed altered, you're going to end up having to fight for your property. Now, a lot of parents, a lot of older people in San Antonio own these properties, and they have their grandchildren, their children that they want to leave these properties to. But if you don't go down and make that clause or enter that clause into your warranty deed, you're subject to lose it. I mean, it's a fight. The city would love to own your property. And if you don't do the right thing, they will. And they have done it before. I mean, San Antonio East Side used to be populated all over the place with our people, our black people. But now I ask the question, where do I find the hub of the black community? Where do I find the hub of the black community, not only on the east side, but where in this entire city? Is there somewhere where we all know that's our place, that's our section of the city? I mean, you go to certain places, they have the black side of town, they have the white side of town, the Hispanics are over there, the Puerto Ricans are over there. So the Orientals are over there. I mean, I grew up in a little town called Inverness, Mississippi, and we were divided by the railroad tracks. And the white folks stayed over in the nice side of town. We stayed over on the other side. And the Chinese people and Vietnamese people lived in the middle, in the back of their stores. So right here in San Antonio, we still need to maintain a footprint and hold ourselves down in a particular community. That's one of the reasons I decided to bring Casa de Smitty's to the east side. Now, when I looked over there and looked around this city, I thought about what am I doing here? What am I trying to do? What I'm trying to do is to provide a place where we all can call our hub, a place where we all can meet. It's a black club, and I'm not ashamed to say it. About a year and a half ago, I had a white person come over to my spot, and the first question they asked me, is this a black club? You know, I had never thought that it was a black club, and then I said, you know what? You're right, it is a black club, and it's built and it plays black music. So I'm not ashamed to say it. So I would hope that you all understand that's Casa de Smitty's on 1850 East Houston Street. They are gentrifying the east side right now. If you drive down Martin Luther King Street right over here by the American Legion, you'll see several new properties being built. Now you wonder who owned those properties. I'm going to tell you who owned those properties. Our former councilman, Cruz Shaw. Now, when he was in office, rumor has it that he procured those properties during that time. Now, people take District 2 as a laughing stock sometime. But I'd like to tell you that's a real important position for our community. We got to do some things a little bit more to keep this gentrification from sweeping the whole east side. Now they come to your house. Let me go back a step. Like I was saying, this Lady Bird Johnson deed is the part you need to get in your warranty deed to ensure that your offspring, your children, don't lose your property. Now you can look that up on the internet and it'll tell you how to do it. It costs you about $250 down. You can get a lawyer to do it. You can do it yourself, but it takes somebody with a little skill to present those documents down at the courthouse. But if it's not in your warranty deed, you're subject to lose that property. These people that are gentrifying the east side come around to your property and they call you all the time saying, hey, let me buy your property. I got $30,000 cash I want to put in your pocket right now. That $30,000 look real good when you ain't got no money. But that $30,000 is going to net them $250,000 on your property that you own. So my recommendation to you is to stay at your property. Don't give in to that $30,000 because it's a fraction of what the property is worth. And you got to think, your parents or their parents, that may be 3 or 4 generations long living in that property. And here comes 2020, you sell that property for $30,000 when all that blood, sweat, and tears went into building that property for you to inherit. It reserves, it's called a reserve enhanced life estate. And that means that when that individual passes, that you automatically become the owner of that property. Otherwise, you're going to have to go down to the courthouse and get it probated. So I don't want you to have to do that. Now, if you want to call in and ask questions or talk to us here at AM 1480, just give us a call, 210-337-1480. Or you can text 210-872-2261. This weekend over at Ella Austin Community Center, they're having what they call Dig That Jazz. Dig That Jazz is a nice little jazz event where they bring in musicians to play music out in the park, but they're doing it at the Ella Austin this year because of COVID. And it's a wonderful place to go and meet. It's going to be virtual as well. This is something that our community does that we need to support. I mean, go online, look for Dig That Jazz. It's something brought to you by Dignowity Hill, that neighborhood, right across the street, right across from Houston Street. If you're still thinking about some stimulus money, you might as well forget it. That stimulus money has been sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk for about 3 months now. It's been already, I don't know if I would call it approved by the Democrats, but it's been sitting on his desk for a while and he hasn't done any action with it. Now they're still talking about proposing a stimulus. So by the time they do that, we'll all be into another zone, another era of this country. It's not happening. Last week, 870,000 people filed for unemployment. Now I don't know how many filed in San Antonio, but I would highly like to recommend that the people in San Antonio file for unemployment. I mean, join that number. I mean, there are little things out there that we can do to get some money in our pocket. I know if you look around, there's not a lot of industry or factories that are local where we can go to and have jobs. I mean, it's a lot to digest in order to get away from this COVID. I mean, COVID laid off a lot of people. COVID-19 killed a lot of people. Over 200,000 people died. That's a lot. Over 7 million people have been known to contract the coronavirus. is still real, y'all. It's still something that you need to watch out for. I mean, you walking around not wearing your mask. I highly recommend you always wear your mask, even if if you get up, if you're at a place to have dinner or something. When you're sitting, you can take your mask off. That's normally how it goes. But if you get up to go to the bathroom, why not put your mask on? Because you're not only protecting yourself, you're protecting other people that are around you that may be they may have a problem with you not wearing that protective mask. I mean, it's for everybody's greater good. And now they're saying that the 6 feet away distance is not sufficient. It should be more. So enough on the coronavirus. You know, back in 1955, there was something that happened in Money, Mississippi. And I'm sure everybody know that in 1955, it was Emmett Till was murdered. And then the people who murdered him, J.W. Million and Roy Bryant, went to trial for his murder. And they were acquitted. They let these people off for what they did to Emmett Till on August 28, 1955. A few years later, Roy Bryant went to work about 100 yards from the house I own in Mississippi. He worked there for a little over about 18 months. And the worst part about that, the United States Army paid for his training to become a professional welder. This is how the standards are, you know, in this country. A lot of things don't work in our favor. Now, I wanted to bring up the story about Emmett Till and the acquittal of J.W. Million and Roy Bryant, because we are here in 2020. Now, keep in mind, 1955, they were acquitted for doing something that we know they did. Now we're in 2020 discussing the Breonna Taylor's case. We all know that if we are in our home, no one should be able to come in your home and take your life. That's just not the way it's supposed to work. That should be the safest place it is in this country, is in your home. But here we are in 2020 hearing some things like officers being acquitted and charging one officer for having a stray bullet going into somebody else's apartment. That's not kosher. That's not very good at all. I'm really disappointed that they acquitted those officers that shot Breonna Taylor 7 or 8 times to her death. And she wasn't the one with the gun. It was her boyfriend. Now, they didn't shoot him at all. But he did shoot one of the police officers. And it seems as though they went in there and just shot everything that moved. They probably would have shot the dog too. So, in 1955, they were acquitting people who committed these atrocities. In 2020, they're doing the same thing. So what's missing in this whole equation? The real voice. That's what's missing. Our time is coming up, and you got until October 5th to get qualified to make a difference. We have to vote, y'all. We have to vote. I mean, you can't think that you can sit on the fence in 2020 because you would much rather it not be like it was in 1955 because it's heading in that direction and we ain't doing nothing about it. The way we start this movement is you have to vote. You have to vote. Whether you did time, it doesn't matter. If you're not on paper, current paper right now, you need to go register to vote. Don't deny yourself the opportunity to vote. Today, at Casa de Smitty's, starting at 2 o'clock, we have the Shriners, Musa Temple number 106, will be at Casa de Smitty's, registering people to vote. If you come there, they're going to ask you, are you registered to vote? And if you're not, we're going to hope that you fill out that card. That's something that's very, very important. And for those of you who don't think your vote is important, you're absolutely wrong. Your vote is very important. You know, some of us talk the talk, but we don't walk the walk. I'm expecting you to do what I do. I come up here to the radio station to bring you information about our community. And all I want you to do is register to vote. That's all I'm asking in return. Go register to vote. They're going to have some mega voting centers. Early voting starts right after the deadline. I don't have the actual dates, but you can rest assured about 2 weeks after the deadline, October 5th, they may start the early voting.